Module 10, Part 2. We're going to complete this floor plan at the end of the chapter, which starts on page 546 to 540. We're going to use a B-size title block. So let's get started. So we'll start off the drawing by downloading the B-size title block and opening it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my downloads where I've downloaded this title block. Actually, what I'll do is I'll get that from D2L. So we'll go to D2L and we'll go to our title blocks. We'll download the B-size title block. We'll open that. What this does is it sets up our drawing environment rather than go through and create some of the things that they've created here. We can use our standard title block that we've been using for the course. And so as we take a look at the textbook, we'll check the units. The units should be in architecture. The limit's 48 feet by 36 feet. Snap and grid 3 and 12. And these really aren't the greatest numbers as we work with this because the walls are 5 inches thick on the floor plan drawing. And so to set up a 3-inch snap doesn't really make sense because you won't be able to work with that. And so we're going to set the snap at 1 inch. We can still leave the grid at 12. And then we're just going to need 2 layers. We'll create a floor plan layer and a furniture layer. And I believe we have a text layer already in there. We may have the floor plan layer in there too. And the other thing that I found was that they're using these line weights that we haven't used as in inches, which you really can't purchase pencils in that size. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set that up according to our drafting standards. And so if we go into model space, and then we go to turn on our toolbar, our menu bar, and we can go to, let's set up our grid in our snap tools, drafting settings, snap and grid, and I'll leave the snap at a 1/2 inch. I'll make the grid at 12. Polar tracking is enabled. I'll enable snap and grid. Object snap is enabled and object snap tracking is enabled. We can verify our units just by typing in units. And so our units are set up as architectural. They want us to dial this down to make that 1/2 inch precision. That's fine. So we'll okay that. And then if we take a look at our layers, we have a layer for dimension and furniture, but we don't have a layer for floor plan and furniture. But we do have furniture. So let's take a look at that. We'll go into our layer properties, and then we'll set up our furniture layer. Furniture layer blue 0.50 millimeters is our line weight. And then what we'll do is we'll set up and create a floor plan layer. So we'll say new. And we'll say floor plan. And we'll also leave that at 0.5 millimeters. We'll make the floor plan layer current. We'll just set the current layer. And then for the text layer, we'll create a layer called text. Make that purple. When I work with text, I use a line weight that's very light, 0.3. And that's going to be the same line weight that we'll use for our dimension layer. And then as we go through, and it tells us to set up the text style as city blueprint in the LT scale. The way that we would do that would be to create in the dimension in the text style, the city blueprint would be the chosen font. And I believe that's what we already have. And then the LT scale 48, we can just type in. And so for our text, we go to annotate. And here's our text style right here. So we can change this for our standard to city blueprint. City blueprint looks like handwriting. Then we'll okay that, apply it, close it. And the LT scale, we can just type in. Alrighty, so we've got the settings according to the way the textbook has. We really don't need these other layers at this point, so I did not create them. You won't lose any points if you do not create them. We'll create the floor plan as shown in the figure below. And so what we'll do is we'll create an outline of a box 30 feet by 20 feet, and then we'll offset these lines 5 inches and use a lot of offset and trim to create the floor plan drawing. Ready. Back to the home. We're on the floor plan layer. We'll start with a line. I'm going to use line weights. I'm going to find a point to start it. I like to try to put it at a corner. And then we'll drive that line. As you can see, we have the polar enabled, and I'm going to draw that 20 feet. Then I'm going to bring it over to the side. I'm going to go 30 feet. And then I'm going to go back down 20 feet. And I'll go back 30 feet. All right, my grid isn't showing up the way I want it. So I'm going to adjust my limits. And my limits are going to be set up at 48 by 36. Limits 0, 0, bottom left-hand corner is right, upper right-hand corner, 48 feet, comma, 36 feet. Now we've got a little bit more real estate to work with. And then we'll start creating the construction by offsetting at these different values. And I think what I'll do is I'll start by locating where this part here is by offsetting 17 feet, 7 5/8 to locate that point. And then we'll need to offset 16 feet, 10 7/8 to locate this point. And then once we trim it, we can then start locating the points for the other rooms in the floor plan. So we'll come in and we'll offset. (17 feet dash 7 dash 5 divided by 8. Enter. Let's try that one more time. Sorry, I'm not in the offset command, that's why. Offset 17 feet dash 7 dash 5/8. You don't need to use the inch mark. And then it asks us which line. And so we'll offset this line to the side and hit enter. We'll repeat that command. And this time we're going to offset things 16 feet, 10 7/8. And so I'll just repeat the command, right mouse click, dial in the value, 16 feet dash 10 dash 7 divided by 8. Enter. Then we'll select the line for that and the side. Hit escape. And then what we'll do is we'll draw a line from the endpoint to the endpoint. Hit escape. Endpoints is enabled in our O snaps. We'll go to trim, and then we'll just drive it through this too. That creates the perimeter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to offset 5 inches all the way around, and then we're going to start working on these interior features. Offset. Still in trim. Computer's a little slow sometimes. 5. Select the line. And then offset it to the inside because the dimensions were to the outside. A quick way to trim this is to use the fillet command with a radius of 0. And so if we go to fillet and then we hit the down arrow, select radius, its default is set at 0. So we can just go and fillet these. We probably could do multiple, which would be much faster. So when it comes back and I repeat the fillet, I'm going to select multiple so I don't have to keep enabling the command. All right. So we've got the walls created now, and then we'll create the interior walls by offsetting and trimming. And so we'll offset these values right here. And I think what I want to do is I want to start off by offsetting 14 feet, 7 inches to get this line right here. And then we'll offset that line 5 inches. And then once we have that created, we'll start offsetting and trimming as it's shown. So zooming back in, offset 14 feet, 7 inches. Notice that it's selecting the outside line in the blueprint. And so as you start to work with reading your blueprints, 14 feet, 7 inches goes to this outside line right there. And then we're going to offset another 5 inches from there. To this side, to the right. Not a bad idea to put some dimensions on here. And so I'm going to switch over to the dimension layer just to keep track of everything that we're doing. I'm going to put a linear dimension here just to make sure my numbers are right. So we can see we've got that at 14 feet, 7 inches. And you'll also notice that it's using the city blueprint, or it looks a little bit different than the font that we were using previous. All right, that looks great. Let's trim it. And then let's locate the other part of the room. We're going to go here. We're going to offset this line. And it's hard to tell whether they want the inside or the outside line to be at 9 feet 2 inches. It looks like this is right down the middle, but then again, this dimension is different. So it's not, because this is 9 feet 7. So I'm going to offset the interior line 9 feet 2 inches, then 5 inches, and then see if I have 9 feet 7. If I don't, I may have to go and offset the outside line and see if that construction works. It's not the best way to dimension it. I would have dimensioned and staggered the dimensions so you can tell which one is which. Offset 9 feet 2. I have a feeling it's the outside line, so I'm going to offset the outside line first. See if that is, because that's what they did for the other line. To this side. And then we're going to offset 5 inches. And then we're going to go and throw some dimensions on it and see if those numbers add up. There's our 9 feet 2. Inches. And we're off. So let's do that again. We're going to erase that. And this time we're going to offset it from the inside. See if those numbers work. Offset 9 feet 2 from the inside edge. Feet offset 5 inches. Feet offset 9 feet 7 inches. And if this number is right, it will actually, we won't see anything here. And so it looks like it is right because it's landing right on top of the line. And you want to avoid having line on line geometry. So as we go through, let's verify with our dimensions and then we'll trim. So we'll say, tell me what this room size is. This time I'm going to measure it from the inside to this inside, and we'll get our 9 foot 2, and then we'll repeat that. 5 inches, repeat. So now we have figured out that we need to offset the inside lines. We'll trim. And then we'll do some more offsetting. So we'll offset for the door openings. 1 foot 1 inch, 2 feet 6, 7 feet 2 6. And then our final dimensions should give us, if the numbers all add up, to 6 feet 1. Offset. One foot 1, enter. Select the line and then the side. Repeat. 2 feet 6. Not ADA compatible. Should be at least 3 feet. But this is the textbook we're working with. We'll extend these out. When I extend, what I typically do is I just put a grip on it and then I just move it with that grip. Trim. Put some dimensions on just to check that our numbers are right. Remember, you can move the grip after you have enabled it. And so we can move it down like that so that the drawing reads correctly. Check our door opening. I'm going to stagger these a little bit. And then we're going to need to offset 7 feet. Get from this line to this one, and then 2 feet 6. And then if all the numbers add up, that should be 6 feet 1. Offset 7 feet, 7 apostrophe, enter. Select the line, and then the side above it. And then we're going to offset 2 feet 6. Select the line, side, trim. Verify our dimensions. Right. We have a little trimming to do here. Let's save this drawing. And I think I'll check it in the viewport first, floor plan, layer. Just be in the middle of a command. If you're ever stuck, you can always hit escape and it'll help. So we're going to double click within the viewport. Let's try 1 inch equals a foot and see how that fits in there. It's too large. Let's go down to 1/4 inch equals a foot. That looks perfect. And so we dialed in the viewport scale and we're going to lock that. And then on the title block, always fill out the student name, the course, and that date information. I'm going to save the drawing. Set the viewport scale information. You can double click on that. Set that as 1/4 inch equals a foot. It's important to put the scaling information so that when it's printed, the drawings can be measured with a ruler. And then again, remember to put your name, course, correct date. That ends the first part of this video for the chapter module 10 exercise.